What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about SC430, what to look for before you purchase this car. It's a beautiful car. It's becoming popular. I see them all over the place, especially on the auction sites. I'm going to explain to you what to look for, how to purchase, before purchasing, what items you should ask the buyer or the seller, and as far as maintenance, things to look for accident, things to look for inside the car as far as electronics, the top itself, also in the engine, so you don't end up with the lemon. You don't end up with the car that you need to spend a lot of money fixing, or either have someone fix it for you, or if you do it yourself, still parts are kind of pricey for this car. So let's get to work. Let's walk around the car so I can show you from back to the front, outside, inside, and the engine, and see what this car is all about. And so you get an idea, because I get a lot of questions as far as, hey, what should I look when I buy this car? I'm interested, but I don't know anything about the car, and all those questions. So I'm gonna make this video for you guys, so you know what to do, how to do it, how to save money, getting the best car, get the best value for this beautiful car during the summertime. All right, let's do it. All right, as far as outside, body parts, panels from back to front, very important to look for body gaps. Just in case if you don't get a Carfax report, not everything is in Carfax. A lot of people can get in an accident, but they can fix it on the side without claiming insurance, or insurance to take care of it. That never goes into your Carfax or to anybody's Carfax. But you can still tell by either looking at the colors, if the body panels match, or especially the gaps. Make sure these gaps match on each side. Trunk gaps, bumper gaps, door gaps. Make sure everything matches. The gaps here for the trunk, which is this is a heavy piece, very difficult. Very good body shops know how to match body gaps. The other ones, they just put it back on, but you can easily tell once you look at the gaps if this side is wider than the other side, or if the other side is wider than this side. That tells you somebody had, at some point, they moved this panel, and the only reason they would do that is to fix to replace it, to do body work, especially with the bumper. The door itself, very important. Make sure these gaps are not too close to the quarter panel right here, or not too close to the fender right here. Body gaps really, it's extremely important. You get a better idea as far as if the car has been in an accident or not, especially the front bumper, the gaps on the hood itself. This is a massive hood. There are a lot of cuts and gaps on the hood itself, so pay attention to those gaps. The side skirt, that's also important. Pay attention to the side skirt. Just kind of eyeball everything, make sure everything is in a perfect space or location, or as far as gap goes, make sure everything matches. Both sides are the gaps are the same size. You can tell. I mean, I have seen cars, when I go check out cars, I see this piece is almost close to the fender right here, and the other side is twice as wide. So you can tell that somebody messed with the hood, or removed the hood at some point, resprayed it, whatever the case is. Pay attention to those things. All right, we're gonna go inside the car, and I will explain to you what to look for inside electronics, and also the hardtop, which is very expensive if it doesn't operate right, and the trunk and the hood. All right, we're gonna start from the trunk. Make sure the trunk obviously closes and opens very nice and smoothly, because this is a very special trunk. It opens both from this side and the other side because of the hardtop convertible that folds and goes into this location. It's very important, if you do physically look at the car, make sure the top operates perfectly fine without any noises or any movements that that are not perfectly aligned within opening and closing, especially when the top closes when you're sitting inside the car. It should perfectly line into two latches, because if it doesn't, then again it could have issues or problems, and it's expensive to repair and it's time consuming to repair, because there are a lot of this entire back needs to be disassembled to access motors back there, to access motors back here. There are sensors here for the top to fully operate. As far as right here, make sure this piece is fully functional. It goes all the way inside and it comes all the way out, and it latches right in here, because these two sensors are extremely important. That these two sensors tells the actual mechanism of the top to open and close. If you happen to forget to put this on correctly or not to close it correctly, your top will not operate, because it doesn't know that this space is empty and available for the top to fold in here. That's another piece that you need to be very careful about. And the next item is the additional spare tire option, which I'm going to talk about the spare tire. All right, back here. Again, this was optional. Not every car had a spare tire, because these cars do come with originally from factory with run flats. So a lot of customers, a lot of buyers didn't care to have a spare tire back then, from 2002 to 2010. So if you really needed a spare tire that was optional, you could pay for it. I think it was somewhere an additional $600 to $700. You would get a spare tire right here with this special, I don't have it, so my cover or carpet right here is solid, so it just covers the whole back here. But if you have an original spare tire, there would be a cut right here for the spare tire to stick out here, including the cover of the spare tire that would go right here. And of course, with your tools, make sure if you do get the spare tire, it's a bonus. Not too many sellers or cars have it, but make sure you do have the jack, the towing hooks, and everything else in here. Their tools, and what do we have in it? It even comes with the original Lexus tools in here, and a bracket for your license plate in the front, which I do not have the license plate in the front. And that's pretty much it as far as back here. Again, if you don't have these things, and of course this net right here, these are very difficult to find, but of course you have to pay extra. Again, you can negotiate. If you're trying to buy a car and the car doesn't have these items, you can bring the price down. Just gonna close the trunk. We're gonna go inside the car and test few of the gadgets inside. One point to item. Again, we're gonna go inside and check the radio, the antenna. This is the original antenna, operates automatically as soon as you turn the radio on, AM, FM. It's pretty cool. It goes all the way up, gets adjusted based on what channel you use as far as FM or AM. And once you turn off the radio, the antenna goes all the way down here. A lot of people replace the antenna, but I don't. I love the original look. It's very difficult to find this original that is fully functional and is working. I don't think Lexus, carries these parts. You have to get them used, but again, it costs money. So test the antenna, make sure it's working before you purchase. You can save money if it doesn't, but if it doesn't, your radio is not going to work. That's another thing. So we're going to go inside the car. All right, as far as inside, SC430. A few things you should look for. Definitely check while you're looking at the car that you want to purchase. Regardless if you're physically looking at it or you checking it online on an auction site, they should be able to take a quick video and show you, hey, do the window switches work? Does the lock button work? Speakers, radio, the climate control, all that stuff. I always personally ask when I'm looking for cars to buy, hey, take a video and show it to me. Don't be shy about it because it's not easy to fix these. It's, of course, it costs money to fix them. So unless you're willing to pay extra every time something that you want to purchase something and things doesn't work, you want to pay, it's up to you. But if you want to save money, bring the cost down. If those things don't work, definitely ask the seller for all those items. Again, check these window regulators or these window switches. Replacing these parts are not that difficult. I have videos how to replace or remove this entire panel because I've replaced speakers. But again, it's time consuming, it costs money. These cars usually come with the Mark Levinson stereo speakers, but the sound is not the best. Maybe it was good 20 years ago, but now these days, with the new speakers out there, with the new technology, the sound is not the greatest. A lot of times these speakers go bad. There are tears in them because the car was outside in the sun or it wasn't kept in a garage, and you hear vibration. So make sure you turn the car on, put some CDs or radio or music on. If there is a tear in the speakers, you can hear it. There will be a vibration. The sound, it will be very, it's not going to be a clear sound. You can tell. You got to replace the speakers, which I did. I have videos on how to replace speakers. There are 2 door speakers right here. There are 2 door speakers, not door, but side panel speakers in the back on each side. There is a big subwoofer right in the middle of the seat back there. If you want to replace all that, the entire back needs to come out. That's like 3 to 4 hours job. It's a lot of work. And also you have these 2 speakers up here. Check your speakers, make sure everything works. Check your, obviously the stereo. I love the stereo. The stereo is great. I have no issues with the stereo. AM, FM. I do actually have tape. I don't use it, but I do have tape. And of course I use a CD. Sounds very good now that I have replaced the speakers. Make sure you check that stuff. And as I told you guys, as far as with the antenna, when you turn the switch on, I'm gonna show you guys as soon as I go outside so you can see what I'm talking about. When I turn FM on, you see it gets adjusted and it works perfectly. And I'm gonna leave the camera actually out there so you can see when I turn it off how this thing goes down. Make sure your climate control works. As far as AC, extremely important. Make sure the AC works. Your vents all working, because it's just not about the cold air or hot air coming. A lot of times you may have a good compressor, you may have cold air in the system, but if your vents or the blower motor doesn't work, a lot of people tell you, oh yeah, the AC works or the compressor has been replaced or those type of things. But if the actual blower motor that sits behind right in that section of the dash, that doesn't work, there will be no air coming or blowing out into the car. Make sure the blower motor works, turn the AC, check the system right here, hot air, cold air. This button right here is for the top. Definitely make sure you operate the top by holding it down. Factory is you hold it down the entire time to open up the top, and close it. You hold it down for closing it the entire time. There's a red light that stays on when the entire process happens. I have done some modifications to this that I don't need to hold this button. I can just press twice and it does operate open and close without me holding it or even being inside the car. But just the point is, make sure the top works. That's an expensive piece, expensive repair. If it doesn't, then you have your heaters within your side mirrors, both on the driver and passenger side. Make sure those two work. If you're planning to drive the car, during winter or snow, I don't do it. I live in California, so I have never used this feature. But again, when it comes to purchasing a car, if things don't work, you get a discount, you get a better deal. This is for the back window. The back window is actually glass, it's not plastic in this car. Your hazard, the option on top, or this piece right here on top, is your navigation system. Again, I really have never used it, but if you open up the navigation, it should turn on, and as you can see, it comes out. You can actually adjust how far this piece or this screen comes out and goes back in. It's totally adjustable by clicking the tilt option. If you press and hold the tilt, it goes back. You press to hold the tilt, it comes out. Do it again, it comes out more. And agree. It's not the best navigation, but it works. I have used it actually. You can go to the info section for some stuff about your maintenance and screen settings and all that stuff. The key is to make sure, if you want to keep this car original and you want to have everything original, to make sure everything works. A lot of people replace this part, put a much better screen in here. But again, I'm not a big fan. I don't really care for navigation. I don't drive this car to go places that I have never been. I drive this car on the weekends, and I have never used it, but it's fully functional. Make sure this section of the car, all these keys are functional. They all work, especially closing. See, it goes all the way in, and this piece comes all the way down. I love this wood panel. Same at the bottom right here. Make sure when you press this button, the cover comes down, and it will closes. It will shut, and it will stay flush. And you have extra space right here for your cigarette lighter and some other stuff. Show you this one more time. It's for cup holders. I never use this, but it's, if you're a coffee drinker in the car and you love coffee or whatever drinks you have, it's good to know that this piece is working. You have your power options for standard power mode. It gives you the suspension in the front, and it gives you a little bit of a boost when you put it on power. And of course, the snow. I have never tried this in snow. We don't have a snow here in California, so I don't know about this function. This button right here in the middle opens up the coin tray right here. If you own a Pebble Beach or Nima's Market Edition cars, you will have a plaque right here that says Pebble Beach number whatever, and VSC off. A lot of times I see people buy SC430s, and they have a VSC issue on the dash. You will have dash, like where the check engine is, right above it. You will have VSC lights, uh, popping up. It's always good to pay attention to your dash to make sure you don't have any check engine lights on. You don't have any check engine lights on. You don't have VSC lights on because that is a function. It has a special computer inside this car. If that doesn't fully function, you have to replace that part, and that part is not cheap. It's hard to find the original part or brand new. You have to put a used one in there, or there is a way to reset it to turn it completely off. But pay attention, turn the keys on, turn the car on. As you can see, it's right there, but it goes away. Make sure you don't have a check engine light on or any other lights like, low oil pressure or battery. None of that stuff, because those are all headaches. We're going to turn this car on. You want to make sure all the lights disappear. You don't want to see any lights in here. And this is as far as the interior. What have I missed? What did I miss so far? Up here, we have, the dome lights or the two lights, garage opener, memory for the garage openers, and of course the standard mirror right here. Everything as far as your side mirrors, your functions are right here. You switch between left and right. Again, check these, make sure they do function, because if they don't, something's obviously not right and it needs to be checked. As far as the steering wheel, this is this important piece I wanted to show you guys. There is a key or button right here. This is a telescopic steering wheel that actually moves the steering wheel for adjustment. You see, it goes up and down, brings it to the front or back. Make sure this actually works. A lot of times there is a motor inside that needs to be replaced. So when you put the key in, you don't hear the steering wheel going up and down smoothly. It may not even work, or you might hear like grinding noises because the motor is damaged. The inside the motor, there are some wheels that don't work, and you have to replace the entire motor. It's a difficult job. You gotta take everything down under the steering wheel and the motor itself. You can actually purchase it, but it's like a few $100. But it's time consuming if you do it yourself. So make sure the steering wheel is actually working. You do have some buttons right here for your radio volume and mode between CD and AM and FM. These other volumes are for your phone connection. This car, none of these cars from 2002 to 2010 came with Bluetooth connection for your phones. As far as phones, I mean, none of them are connecting to your phones for music purposes. They do connect to your phone, and you can actually have your phone connected, so you can, use your phone inside the car. It works perfectly. They do all have Bluetooth for that purpose. For voice only, only connects to your phone for making phone calls, but not for music, unfortunately. We have seat warmers here. 2 buttons for seat warmers. Make sure your seat warmers are working. Then we have just the standard stuff. There is a lock in here for security to lock this piece. And from here, you have another cigarette lighter adapter connector right here that I'm using for my dash cam that I have for accidental purposes. You have the glove box. There's nothing special with the glove box. There are lights there's a light inside, light bulbs inside the glove box, which is a cool feature. Also, as you can see, there are lights within both sides of your seatbelt lock, from at the bottom of each side, from the passenger, on the passenger and on the driver. You see that there are two green lights. So make sure these lights are all working. Same with the lights on the door. You see where the Lexus lights are on the door panel right there. That's important. Make sure your memory seats are working. That's important. You know, those type of things. I think we are pretty much done with inside. So we're gonna head to the engine. There is always a good idea to look inside your engine bay. Even though you don't know nothing about the engine bay tells you as far as how the previous owners kept the car, basically, as far as maintenance, as far as the way they drove it, as far as where they kept it. You know, even if the car has 100,000 miles, 200,000 miles, a lot of engine bays could be clean, but you can tell based on if somebody actually serviced the engine, or they just left it alone, dusty, dirty. Just it's extremely important. And a lot of times, if you really want to know if the mileage matches the engine or the car itself, because it's easy to tamper with the mileage, it's the best place to look it's in the engine bay. If someone tells you, oh, the car has only 50,000 miles, but you look at the engine bay and it looks like the car has 250,000 miles, that kind of gives you an idea as far as maybe something is not right. So I'm going to point out a few things, what to look for within the engine bay. But of course, bring a mechanic, bring someone that knows about the engine so they can explain, they can ask questions. But I'm going to explain and ask, give you guys some ideas about what to ask and what to look. Number one thing to ask is timing belt. This engine requires timing belt service, and you definitely should ask the previous owner if they have done or replaced timing belt, which requires to replace the belt, of course the timing belt, the pulleys, which you see right there. These are the pulleys, and the water pump, the belt for the engine itself. One way to check the belt is to turn it around, make sure you don't see any cracks. I don't know if you can see this, but you kind of check this belt right here, twist it, turn it, and see if you don't see any cracks. Those are the things that are very important. Those are part of the maintenance for 80 to 100,000 miles, or if the car is more than 10 years old. Even if you don't drive the car, a lot of people think if I don't drive the car, it's a 2002, 2004, 2005, but it's been sitting with like 30,000 miles on, you still have to replace or do a timing belt maintenance, because it's a belt. It will break regardless. So for safety reasons, you should do the timing belt. If you don't do it and something happens, the entire engine needs to be replaced, and you don't want that. You may as well total the car, or just put a used engine in. And if you do it yourself, it's still expensive. If you don't do it yourself, total the car. Number 2, make sure there are no white spots around the radiator. Usually, if you see radiator fluid or coolant around the radiator, around the expansion tank, that's not a good sign. That tells me either the car had some overheating issues that could cause, blown head gasket causes overheating issues. And usually when that happens, the fluid comes out either from the expansion tank or from the radiator door cap itself. and you will see like white spots all over the place here. I would be very cautious, and I would double check and ask what happened here. Was that because of if they replaced the radiator, or they changed the fluid, or if there was an overheating issue? It's extremely important. And of course, if they do clean everything up, you kind of have to pay attention when you turn the car on, and pay attention to the engine sound. Make sure there are no ticking noises. The engine should run smoothly. The engine should operate as within a normal temperature. Definitely drive the car for 10-15 minutes. Leave the car on for 10-15 minutes. Make sure that temperature gauge is in the middle and stays in the middle for 20 minutes. If you notice, if the temperature gauge is going higher or going over the middle, something is not right. So when you do test, check though for these, to buy a car, and if you are going to see the car, make sure you turn it on, let it run for 20 minutes, drive it. Don't go around the block. Take it to the street, take it to the freeway. Tell the buyer, tell the seller, hey, I want to drive this car. I want to test it. Make sure everything works. These cars may have some suspension issues. By issues, I mean, the suspension could get old, and there are rubbers that they may not need replacement. So when you test drive the car, you may feel that the front suspension or the front wheels are not really on the ground. You don't feel that stiffness. You may even hear some clicking noise. Those are related to suspension issues on each side at the front. The repairs are not too expensive or not too drastic. And, if you do notice those type of, symptoms, it's good to let the seller know so you can drop the price. And if you know how to do it yourself, you could actually get all the parts for a few $100, replace them. If you want to take it someplace, it may cost you like $1,000, but you will have a perfect suspension in the front without any issues. And it's normal. There's nothing major. Has nothing to do with the engine. It's just part of maintenance, car being old. This is a heavy car, so it's just a normal maintenance process. Number 3, I'm not a big fan of cars that have been modified. With the cold intake, they have tweaked the engine, they have put some computers inside the car that controls the emission, or the fluid for the as far as the injectors, all that stuff. I'm not a big fan. I usually walk away from it. If I see a car, no matter how clean it is, if it has been modified, tweaked, done some major stuff to improve horsepower, to improve engine performance, I usually walk away from those deals, no matter how good it is, because you never know what the person has done, and I don't want to deal with their headaches and problems and issues. It's totally up to you. If you want to get yourself into that situation, totally go for it. I'm not going to do it. I always ask if the car has been modified, or it's just a stock normal factory car, which I always love factory normal non-modified cars. Number 4, look for leaks. Even though there is a beauty cover right here and it covers a lot of stuff, you have a lot of, obviously this is completely covering the front of or top of the engine, and this piece is covering the pulleys and this side. Ask for someone to remove the cover. There are only 2 bolts right here. Remove the cover and look for leaks. You don't want to see any leaks on top of the engine, and obviously you don't want to see any leaks at the bottom of the engine. So same from as far as the bottom of the engine and at the bottom of the transmission. You don't want to see any oil leaks, and you want to see everything nice and dry. Dusty, dirty, that's fine, but no oil leaks. Also, this car has a rear-wheel drive axle in the back. You also want to double check that, because that's part of the maintenance. You do have to replace the fluid for the axle, because it's a rear-wheel drive. Definitely double check to make sure that fluid has been replaced. Engine, motor oil has been replaced. How often? The air filter, oil filter. When it comes to transmission in these cars, pay attention. Extremely important. If they have never replaced the transmission fluid, don't ever replace it. It's very dangerous. If you replace a transmission that has never been replaced, you could end up damaging the transmission. But if they have replaced the transmission, depending on the mileage, let's say if the car has 100,000 miles on, and they have replaced the transmission based on providing you paper from the mechanics, dealers, or even themselves, and how often. If they have done it every 20,000 to 30,000 miles, that's a different story. You have to replace the transmission fluid. But if they have never replaced the transmission fluid, which they should not ever touch it, don't ever replace it. Don't open up the transmission unless you have issues with the transmission. But again, you don't want to buy a car with transmission issues unless it's a great deal and you know what you're doing and what you're getting yourself into, and how you can how you can open up the transmission, deal with the filter and replacement and all that. That's one thing. But again, double check all those double check all those things. Ask all your questions about the fluid. Make sure all those fluids have been replaced. Ask for receipt. Ask for purchase parts for oil. Again, if somebody has does the work themselves, like myself, I always keep receipts from all the oil purchases, filter purchases, belt purchases, spark plug, injectors, everything. I keep receipts for everything I purchase, so I can show it to the next person that, hey, listen, I have replaced all that stuff myself. Here are, and I have receipt to prove it. So very important. I think pretty much this is the overall video as far as what to look for and what questions to ask when it comes to purchasing this beautiful car. It's a touring car. It's wonderful. It's very nice and smooth. And I love the fact that you can drive it convertible with the open roof during summertime or during any time, depending on where you are. I hope you guys enjoy these videos. I hope you like these videos. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more videos. But for now, peace out.